And I made the decision that this man has absolutely not one chance with me. But for some reason, I knew he was going to call, I guess, because we had had such great conversations. And also, I said, you know what? But I wanted to be able to tell him off to his face.
They eloped 6 months after his mother died, just the two of them and a friend. No reception, no celebration, because after the world had mourned Coretta Scott King so publicly, quiet felt like the right thing to do. 20 years later, Martin Luther King III and Arndrea Waters King are finally doing what they never got to do. They're standing in front of the people they love and saying, "We choose each other," again, on purpose, in the middle of all of this. And I had the privilege of sitting down with both of them just days before that moment to ask them what 20 years actually looks like from the inside, what they had learned about staying together through seasons that would break up most people, and what they want every couple in America, especially Black couples holding it together right now, to take away from the fact that they chose this moment to renew their vows. I'm Esther Dillard. This is The Color Between the Lines. I've done my research on you, but for somebody who might not have done all the background, how did you guys actually meet? Take me back to the beginning. I think it's such a cute story.
Uh, well, we were set up on a blind date, and Martin and we talked on the phone for a couple of weeks, and we decided that we were going to meet. And so the time and date came that we had agreed upon, and Martin wasn't there. And then, 5 minutes after, he wasn't there. 10 minutes after, he wasn't there. By 15 minutes, I was livid. And I made the decision that this man has absolutely not one chance with me. But for some reason, I knew he was going to call, I guess, because we had had such great conversations. And also, I said, you know what? But I wanted to be able to tell him off to his face, because then I felt like I was on a mission for all female kind and for whoever comes after. I mean, I felt like I had a mission from God, like to say, I don't care who you are. This is not how you treat a woman, because obviously you hadn't been shown this. But so, a few minutes after that, his friend who had been on the conversations with us, he called. He was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I was supposed to call. Martin was called away, and I was supposed to call to reschedule." And he was very apologetic. He's like, "Well, so can we reschedule?" I said, "Sure." And he's like, "Okay, well, he'll pick you up." I was like, "No, no, no, that's okay. This time we'll just meet," because I had come up in my mind that I was going to tell him off and walk out and leave. Um, and so we rescheduled, and so that date came, and Martin came in and didn't get a chance to tell him off that day. I've told him off many days since now. 30 years.
True, that's true. That's true.
30 years. There's been plenty of but it's so interesting. I say this, and this is, so it's honest to God truth. Like within literally about 2 minutes of him walking in, I realized that he was one of the best men I'd ever met in my life.
How'd you do that? How'd you make up for it, Martin?
It was a grace to God.
Well,
My sister still say, I don't know how. No.
first of all, she never told me that she had not received a call. So I didn't even know. I think I found out maybe about 8 months later. She told me, Phil didn't call me when we had our first date. I was like, huh? So
I must have interpreted that you really, I could feel that
it was genuine,
yeah.
whatever was supposed to happen, but it worked out well. So I'm not sure what I would have navigated and managed had I known, but since I didn't know and she didn't share it initially, and it's always interesting how things happen. We had when we got married. On May 23rd. We were in Santa Barbara, and after we married, I'm going to get to the good part first. Andrea said, this is amazing, it's wonderful. We're on our way back. We got married in, as I said, Santa Barbara, and because we at the time wanted to that was one of the few places where you confidentially could get marriage licenses. And so we were driving back to the airport on the 405 in Los Angeles. And Andre said something, I don't know what else your mom could do to bless our union. And it something like that. It was probably more in depth, but as we were driving, right as we were getting near the exit to get off the 405 to go to the LAX, a car pulled in front of us and it had the initials CS. I'm missing something.
Coretta.
No, it said
It said
Coretta.
Coretta.
Mom's name, Coretta.
Yeah.
Now we didn't have cell phone cameras at the time, so we couldn't capture it. But we were both like, "Oh wow, that's amazing." And she just said, "I don't know what else your mom could do." And the car pulls in front, and then it drove off. We didn't see it anymore. But signs, things happen in life that validate certain things. That's such a powerful signal as one of many things that have happened throughout the years.
Well, I know that this is 20 years for you guys. You chose to mark this anniversary not just with a celebration, but with a renewal, a deliberate commitment. And I just wonder what made you want to do that, and why did you want to feel like this was the right moment for it?
Mm. Well, when we were married 20 years ago, we eloped. It was 6 months after Martin's mother's transition, and after having had such a big, huge public funeral and mourning session, it just felt appropriate that if we were to get married that year, like to do something small and intimate. It literally was just us and a dear close friend that married us. And so we've talked about over the years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. Oh, and then we had the intention was to have, once we get married and then on our first year anniversary to have a large reception. But then on our first year wedding anniversary, Martin's sister passed away literally just about a week, 2 weeks before. So that didn't happen. And so over the years, we talked about doing something for 5 or 10, and then it never happened. And I think it kind of fell into place that this year with 20 years and that this was a time that we wanted to recommit, but also to celebrate. We knew that the backdrop was going to have so much turmoil and chaos. But we didn't know quite that it would have this much political chaos. But it felt appropriate during so much turmoil to really stand together and reaffirm to each other. And you can't marry Martin without marrying the legacy. So in a very real sense, you're kind of reaffirming to the legacy and the continuation and standing in love.
Yeah, I wonder what is your response to that? Because, she did bring up a really good point about the 250th anniversary of this country, and to do this at this time when it feels like the whole world is burning down. What was your thought process of doing this?
Well, no, number one, it's always appropriate to reaffirm your love for for yourselves and for your nation and the world. And we hope that we represent something positive. People need to see something good, just, and right in a time like this, where the house is certainly on fire and maybe some would say burning down. Um, we could have never, we probably never would have thought that the nation would elect a commander in chief who finds a new low every week. You think at the end of the day, you say, oh, well, we've reached the bottom. We can't go any lower. No, that's not true. Every week. So, how do part of our objective is always to put something positive into the universe. And there's nothing more positive than love. Love conquers all. Certainly, our relationship in 20 years has not been seamless. But good always weighs out the bad. There's ups and downs. In relationships, you have to work.
Before we get into the rest of this conversation, if you're an educator, a youth leader, a parent, or you just want tools that bring conversations into a classroom with young people like this one, I created educator resource bundles built around stories like this and interviews on the show, discussion guides, slide decks, extension activities, everything you need to turn a powerful conversation into a learning experience for your students so they won't forget it. And you can find them at my Etsy shop, The Color Between the Lines Market, and the link is in the description below. Now, let's get back to the conversation.
You have to work at it, it's like, and not the kind of work that's like, oh, this just wears me out. I don't mean that kind of work, but I mean, you know, every day we're blessed to wake up. We ought to be, thanking God and thanking the fact. I'm just grateful for such an extraordinary partner, because you could be in a different situation. So, I, uh, I mean, I love, and of course, in our home, Andrea plays a lot of different music. We listen to a lot of dad's sermons sometimes, but also other thought leaders and other uh, motivational personalities. So there's all this is the energy that you create. In particular, you can only control, we can't control what's in the world, but we can control what's in our space. And that's what we do so that we are affirming ourselves so we can go out and tackle whatever the world has to display. And so I'm just, oh gosh, I'm over the moon about, about my, not just my love and deep respect and deep admiration and the fact that we're blessed to have an amazing child that's graduating from college.
High school.
Excuse me. I'm sorry.
You
Uh,
put it up ahead.
so graduating and then moving on, which is we're at a different, we're closing one chapter and opening another one. And even as it relates to our 20 years, 20 years, we're closing some things, but we're looking at what's going to be new. What are the next challenges as it relates to not just this legacy, but the legacy my mom and dad. Dad came up with the concept of eradicating the triple evils that he defined as poverty, racism, and violence. And today, we as our society seem to be grappling around the issue of racism and European, I call it European cultural supremacy. And that might appear to be winning temporarily, at least in this nation. But, we have to get above the noise and we have to conquer this one concept if our nation is going to really be able to move forward. I mean, we're at a critical juncture and we're going to do it. So.
I know, Andrea, that when you married your husband, you did the world didn't ask you to be a moral compass. You married the man you loved. So how do you hold your, I guess, the public expectation and then the private life without losing your own self and your own, your own look at how to handle, your love life and your family life and being mom and being wife, all of it. It's just it's to me it's a little overwhelming just thinking about all that you have on your shoulder.
Mm. I think I've been incredibly blessed by having such wonderful women in my life. And of course, Martin's mother was had transitioned by the time that we married, but we spent a lot of one-on-one time together, particularly the last year and a half of her life. And I think now looking, back on it, in some ways it was preparing me. A lot of the stories that she shared or advice that she gave is things that I passed down to our daughter, but also my mom. I'm blessed. My mom has also transitioned to have had a phenomenal, phenomenal mom. And anyone who knew my mom, knows my mom, they loved her. She was an incredible human being, the first Black nurse in her small town of Live Oak, Florida, and worked during the AIDS epidemic on the front line to make sure that people were treated with dignity, love, and respect. Always had a heart of service and love. And so I was incredibly blessed by, a phenomenal mother. And so I have a incredible, small but mighty network of friends that we're there for each other. And I would say even with all of that, like all women, I've had to, there's ebbs and flows. There's that, finding myself and my voice, and not losing my voice when, as you're, becoming a mom and you're looking at work and you're looking at the world, and then also wanting so desperately. I think when any of us becomes even if you don't have children, there's a part that when you look at the world, you want so desperately better for the next generation. And so, I think like so many of us, so we're, handling all of that, whether you're mom or auntie, or, we all are stepmom, or, and so in that way, I think all of our paths are unique, but there's commonality, particularly for women and particularly for Black women, and continuing to find that. I talk a lot too about that divine feminine, those qualities in us that actually are really our superhuman qualities that we have for far too long kind of put to the back burner, put to the side, and use more of the, in this culture and climate, certain attributes are more honored, and some of the things that are our greatest attributes as women, whether we're talking about our intuition, our, the fact that women, we build, I always say, we build webs, men builds ladders, how we look out for community, our innate intuitiveness, like there's so much about us as women that when we nurture and we're coming and we're feeding that part and aspect to ourselves, it overflows, and it flows out, and out to our family and to our world. And I really feel as women, once we're more and more healed, that is the first step of the world being healed.
Mm-hmm. I know that I had looked at a prior interview with you, Mr. King, and you had talked about how your mom encouraged your father to step into the movement while they were dating, and that she kind of held the family together while she was alive, and then when he was gone. And I love it if you could share how she met your dad and her influence, and what did she teach you by example about how to protect your family privately and still be a public figure and move boldly in the world.
So, very good question. Mom and dad met at in Boston. Both of them were attending the universities. Dad at Boston University, and mom at the Boston Conservatory of Music. And what was revealed was mom had read a whole lot of books around peace, as well as being involved in the peace movement. She actually had gone to demonstrations, and they had read a lot of the same books, but dad had not been in leadership at that point. She'd gone to Antioch College in Yellow Springs, Ohio, very liberal arts school, very liberal. And so they taught a lot of things at that institution. And I guess one of them was to become socially active. And because she had done that, Dad would say, well, my wife actually brought me to the mood, this level of the movement. But she had, as I said, her reading. So they met, of course, four children. And I was my older sister, late older sister Yolanda, and I were born in Montgomery, and my younger brother and sister, my late brother Dexter and Bernice, were born here in Atlanta. And when you think about just how you balance all of these things, I mean, I'm so grateful because my mom, uh, once they named me, she didn't want me to be Martin, not because she didn't love her husband, but because, in 1956, 55, during the Montgomery bus boycott, Dad was projected to a national level and maybe even international. And so in her mind, she was already thinking, my mom was a true visionary that, oh my gosh, if we name our son after you, he's going to have a lot to live up to. And, so that was her initial. Obviously, dad won out. I got named me, and then mom helped me to be liberated because she told me, look, you don't have to, this was probably when I was 14. And when dad was killed, I was 10. You don't have to be a civil and human rights leader. You don't have to be a minister. You don't have to go to Morehouse College. I did go to Morehouse. I did have always worked in human and civil rights. Have not been called to the ministry. But she said, just be your best self, whatever that is, and we will provide the foundation to help you become all that you can become. And ironically, we found ourselves sort of instilling those kind of things into our daughter. So she's involved in human and civil rights, but we never told her, you got to do this. You know, sometimes parents will tell you, you've got to do this. No, if that's what speaks to your heart, we know you'll do well because it speaks to your heart. And it always has. So we're just grateful for that. And if she changes her mind, where she's headed now is to Columbia to do a degree in law and human rights. And if she decides to sell cars, we're gonna make her the best car salesperson. See, we just want her to be happy and to fulfill her own destiny and dream.
And we're talking about relationships and you talking about your mom, Arndrea, and now you talking about your mom. But I think also seeing that Father's Day is coming up soon, your father was taken when you were very young. You were learning a lot as a child, but learning what a husband and what a father looks like without him in the room. What was it? How was it like, or what was it like to have to figure that out on your own? And what do you wish someone had told you?
Well, that's a very good question. I've made a lot of mistakes. So, but I'm able to say, well, look, I didn't have a teacher, but she doesn't let me forget. She lets me understand. Now you're supposed to do this, and I'm not saying that in a negative way, but I'm saying it's wonderful to have a partner who understands and is so supportive, and it means the world. If because I wish I had the opportunity to ask my dad, how do you do this? I'm sure number of things and mistakes that I made I would not have had to make, but also when you make mistakes, you learn. You can't stay in the mistake, or else you're gonna sink. So I learned, and I think one of the things that I learned even with my mom taught us a level of patience. I had to be patient because she was navigating 15 things. Like, men, we can navigate one or two at a time. Women can navigate five. This one can navigate 8 or 10 things at one time. It's a remarkable. I marvel at seeing how she's able to do all that because I just couldn't do it. And I'm very regimented. I'm stuck in my way. Okay, I'm gonna do this, and this is all I'm gonna do. Okay, right now, I'm gonna get there, but I can't do it like you. So, they have that kind of respect, that we have for each other and love, and then I hope I'm supporting her equally, which to be in 20 years, maybe a little longer, but at least 20 years married. But it's really been remarkable. So.
Well, Andrea, I'm wondering what would be your advice for young couples who learning from your experience, staying together through seasons of probably very tough times that would probably break up most people. What advice would you say, or what would have you learned over these 20 years that you would like to impart to them?
Well, I would certainly approach it with the fact that every journey is different. And so I would honor their journey. I would say that fundamentally, it is about having a level of respect. Um, yes, respect and friendship, and definitely love for each other, and also having the the safety within yourself and having some type of support system outside of even the two of you. Like to have some type of support system that you can go to and talk through and work things through. And then also sometimes, like they say, don't go to bed angry. And I agree with that. But sometimes you have to you can let things simmer down. It's okay to let things simmer before you pick things back up. And most importantly, I think to always remember um, the impact and power of words. And so that also goes back into the let things simmer. And the most important thing is taking deep breaths. Sometimes you have to take about 10 deep breaths before you speak.
Do you have anything to add to that?
Well, part of that quality is resilience
Yeah, yeah.
because you have to, if the winds and storms come, you have to bend, but don't break.
Mhm.
And so it's a quality of resilience. And when I think about all of the things that I went through a lot of death, well, all of us will, but at different points in our lives. But when we were very new in the relationship, I was experiencing deaths. My grandparents on my mother's side, because they lived a long, long time. My father's parents had already passed by the time Andre and I were connected, but my mom's parents were around. And then my mother in 2006, and my sister in 2007, and my cousins and other family members. And she always had a quiet but strong capacity and I'm grateful, especially grateful for it. But then she also bestows that to others. So anybody who's in her space, she's able to. Yesterday, we had some friends of ours, and they're going through a tough time, and it is something special about this woman. This my wife. But she has a special quality, a special kind of love that lifts people up when they're at their deepest moments. And I've seen that done over and over and over again in different settings and in different situations. And I just so much appreciate and admire her for who she is. And I'm so thankful to God that we connected because if you have the right partner, there's nothing, absolutely nothing that you cannot achieve. But if you have the wrong one, oof, I don't know, but I don't have to worry about that. I'm grateful. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. I really appreciate all these wonderful words in regard to your sharing this moment because you could have done it privately. You didn't have to share it with the world. And it's just it's a wonderful thing that you're being able to share so much of your heart and so much of your love with the world today in this kind of way. So I hope that tomorrow, was it tomorrow or is it Sunday when you guys do this? When's the
Sunday.
Monday.
day?
Tomorrow's
Yeah,
graduation.
graduation.
Yeah.
So
A lot of great things happening this weekend.
yeah, I must ask you, what does your heart say now that your daughter is moving on? Are you scared? Are you hopeful? What are all those
I wouldn't
emotions
say
going on?
scared, but honey,
I've been telling people that I have never in my life felt so many emotions all at once. I feel like I am feeling every emotion because if you're looking at what's going on politically, and then, obviously I think that we don't talk enough about the fact that I don't, grieving feels almost like too strong of a word, but it feels like an appropriate word. Maybe it's acknowledging is
yeah.
the better, that one chapter this book is finished. She will never be in, school in the same way in our house. And and so, taking a moment to acknowledge that that part is finished and also being so excited and open about what the next chapters
Mm.
will be, for her, but also for us as her parents, because, it gives us also a new life and freedoms. And so it is a beautiful time. There's certainly moments of tears that are shed of joy and of acknowledgement. And acknowledging that, okay, like that this is done. And sometimes it's hard to look at her and look at her friends and like not see and to see an 8-year-old versus an 18-year-old, or so it's a beautiful time. I feel like it's look as if looking into a kaleidoscope. So many colors and images and feelings right now. So what I'm trying to do is to be intentional and feeling them all.
How about you?
Yeah, I second and the same thing. I mean, I don't know that I am super emotional. However, I found myself shedding tears for certain moments. Like the few days ago, the kids did a parade for the seniors, And when we came home, when we left to come home from the school, I was driving, I said, well, we won't be coming back here in this way. And I was shedding tears. So I have emotional moments throughout this experience. Very excited about the prospects of her new part of her journey, what she's going to embark upon. The fact that we'll probably be in New York more often than we were. I mean, we often go there anyway, but we'll be there even more. So that's going to be very interesting. It's going to be interesting for us not having her in the home every day. So I don't know, the empty nesting is going to be interesting because I mean, I have my relationship with her daughter, and she has a very special relationship with her mother. And I often just admire it because they just talk. So I don't know. I'm a little concerned. I don't know how to feel that voice.
Yolanda Renee King was at graduation rehearsal when we recorded this, and just a few days after that, she was turning 18, stepping into a whole new chapter. If you haven't seen my conversation with her about her cotillion, about legacy and about identity and about what it means to carry a name like hers into a world right now, that episode is on this channel. The link is below. And if you haven't already, please subscribe and share this conversation because somebody in your life needs to hear it and what this couple has to say today. This is The Color Between the Lines, and remember, your story matters.